every Atlantic 10 victory is a good thing, even if you don't play your best game. And I think Bonaventure has to have some credit for that. They gave us some trouble, and I think they're a very well coached team. And I think Coach will certainly have them going in the right direction as they move forward. For us, we had some really good individual contributions, and we have to be better at everything, every facet of the game. I'm not going to be satisfied with just winning. I'm happy that we'll win, and we'll enjoy it till midnight, and then we're going to move forward. We have to play better. We have to do multiple things better as we pursue what our goals are. But tonight, I felt like Amaya Hamilton and Yanni Townsend, especially on the defensive end in the second half, and Meg McConnell played very well.
Dan, as you navigate through this second season for yourself, just how have you tried to refine the identity, and how much does tonight's performance go towards further defining that and cementing that?
That's a great question. As we identify who we are and what we want to be, we can have all the cultural touch points that we want preseason, but we're in the thick of things right now, and we've got to understand that if you go into the game, you don't get an opportunity to make 3 mistakes and stay in the game. If we come out of a timeout and I challenge you defensively, and the first thing that you do is give up a baseline drive for a layup, I'm going to chew you. And that's what I did at halftime. We had a conversation with a couple people about what our performance was. It's unacceptable for us to come out of a timeout when I've challenged them to be better defensively and to give up a layup. And so it's a learning phase for them, and it's a learning phase for me of how to manage and coach this group. And I felt, even though the score was what it was in the fourth quarter, I thought that we played a very good third quarter and really answered some of the key points of what the conversation was at halftime. And the fourth quarter, I feel like we gave up 22 points, but I feel like that you have to give credit to Bonaventure on some of that. They hit some tough step back shots and did some nice things. But for us to have success, I've got to be able to hold them accountable, and they need to do their job as soon as they go into the game.
You forced a lot of bad shots from the Bonnies tonight. Is that a defense specifically geared toward them, or is that something that you always want to do to every team?
You always want to force people into bad shots. Some of the things we wanted to do tonight, we felt like we had a distinct advantage in the post with our size and our depth, and we wanted to go inside, and we were able to do that. And then Meg found driving seams that we didn't know if they would be there, and she found those seams and was able to get a lot of layups from that. From the defensive perspective, guard your yard, keep them in front of you. You've got to have perfect pack line defense. In other words, you've got to have really good gap integrity, because what Bonaventure wants to do is drive and kick, drive and kick, drive and kick. And so you've got to move in airtime. You've got to keep people in front of you, and then when the ball is kicked, you've got an airtime move so that you're challenging shots. And more often than not, we did that, but I can't be satisfied with that if we're going to achieve our goals. We have to do it every single time. And we did it right now, without looking at the film and breaking it down, we probably did it 65% of the time. We've got to be better than that.
Dan, the girls at one point in the third quarter especially, going after balls. Yanni got a 50-50 ball where she got it right out of an opposing player's hand. Just how do you control those energies and try to let them see that positivity can yield rewards and success?
That goes back to simply accountability, and it's my responsibility that this talented team has more discipline. This is a very talented team, and we have to have much more discipline. and that's on me. And so for that to happen, I have to be able to coach them and coach them hard, and I did that. And they answered the bell, and that was to their credit, not mine. But my responsibility is to make sure that they're accountable and they're being disciplined in everything that they do. And when you dive on the floor, that's discipline. When you close out in airtime and make people take bad shots, like you mentioned, that's discipline. For us to throw the ball inside and be patient on offense and get really good looks, that's discipline. So there's a lot of good takeaways from tonight, but I'm not satisfied with that. We're going to play better than this to get where we need to be.
Coach, you talk about this league is one of the toughest to play in, and there's no easy game. Well, the road doesn't get much easier for you guys in the next couple weeks. You go to Davidson on Saturday. Next week you host Richmond. Kind of, what would you like to see different in the next two games? Following, just go to into Saturday. What would you like to see different, kind of just to stamp your identity and what you're looking for out of your players?
We're going to have to play this way every game of the season in terms of our effort was pretty good tonight. We had not a lot of lapses. It was more execution where we needed to be more disciplined, but our effort was there. Davidson is a team that plays really hard and is really connected. They lost a very important player for them. Susie Rose Deegan is a great player, and you hate to see something like that happen. But they're a connected team, and we're going there. And in the Atlantic 10 this year, there's really about 8 teams that can win the league. So there's 8 teams for those 4 double bye spots. You've got to steal. You got to hold court at home. You got to hold steady at home and steal a couple on the road. We've stole 2 on the road, and if we could get a third, it would really help us. We'll enjoy this till midnight, as I always say, and then we'll wash it off after midnight. And actually, tomorrow's a day off. The kids don't need to think about basketball tomorrow. They've been on the road a lot, and they had this game. They need to think about their academic work. They need to take a day to themselves. And then on Friday, we'll have a deep dive into what Davidson does. And then we fly early on Saturday morning. So like our work that we put in to get prepared for Davidson has to happen on Friday. And then on Saturday, that's more of a reinforcement message before we get on a plane to go play them on Sunday.
Player like Tess Myers, the record, the Duquesne record for 3-pointers, is sort of an encouraging sign, a non-encouraging sign. Players like her down the stretch. How much do you believe in her in terms of her getting better and the team getting better in spite of this win? And what will help you motivate this team heading down the stretch, especially with a tough team like Davidson and others past Davidson?
A lot there. Let's talk about Tess first. Tess was 4 for 10 for the night and 3 for 8, and you know, at least 2 to 3 of those other threes were just in and out type threes that, you know, wide open good looks. I was more happy with the fact that, you know, she had 4 assists, and you know, she passed it into the post and had some really good post touches on her passes and did a really nice job there. You know, we talk about other teams being tough teams. Duquesne's a tough team. We're not quite where we want to be, and we're not happy with where we want to be, but we're a pretty tough team too. And what people need to realize is that as we continue to go down this path, we knew that this was going to be the way it was. We knew that we were going to have challenges. I thought we'd have a couple more wins at this time, but the big thing is that the Atlantic 10 is more than likely going to be a one-bid league, and we have to understand that everything comes down to March. So we've got to be prepared for that and be in our best mental and physical health as we go into late February and early March, and that is part of this process here. So you hold serve at home, you win a couple on the road, you hopefully get that double bye, and you build confidence. Right now we've got 5 or 6 that really believe in themselves and they believe in the team. I think they all believe in the team, but we have a couple that we have to give some hope to and build up their confidence in themselves so that they're playing better, because it's not going to be 5 kids that we can win this with, and it's not going to be 6 kids that we can win this with. It's going to be 8 and 9 players if we're going to make that run in March. With that being said, you know, what do we need? We need our bench to understand when they come into the game, they have to be able to play free, but yet they need to be disciplined enough that we're not going to have unforced turnovers.
kind of piggybacking off of that, Dan, I believe carry the one. I think you played 11 tonight. Obviously, the game in some respects called for that. Just how important is it for that bench you just mentioned to rise up as you try to find those answers come March?
I think a little bit of tonight was my mistake in putting in, subbing in players and not having correct rotations maybe on the floor and not putting people in the position where they can have success. And so I'll fall on the sword for that. But if I put you in the game, you can't have 2 turnovers in one sitting, in one rotation. You can't mishandle the ball. You've got to, and again, that's a delicate thing. Like, you got to be able to go in and you've got to be able to execute and still do it with confidence and know that if you execute, you're going to stay in the game. And Gabby Grantham didn't play much tonight. Gabby understands that, or she should understand that, because she's come into 2 different games and been our leading scorer because she executed and she extended her minutes. Journey had a game like that. Precious had the game at Howard where she had that. And so that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for kids like that, and there's others, to understand that, we've got to be able to put you in. And again, you have the discipline to execute, but also understand that you can't play scared. You've got to play disciplined. And our bench was okay with that tonight, but I didn't give them any help with some of our substitution patterns, and you can put that on me, and I have to be better at that, especially in the first half, first 2 quarters.
Any final remark, Coach?
What's that?
Any final remark?
Yeah, we had a really good crowd for a very, very cold, the coldest day of the year in January on a Wednesday, and we had a great crowd. I appreciate everyone being there and supporting women's basketball. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.